everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right over there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Are you in a good mood today?
I'm in a great mood today.
You're in a fine mood today.
Yes, great, not just fine.
Why are you in such a great mood today, Nikki Kinzer?
Because today is the day.
Today is the day.
It's an exciting day.
Yes.
Yes, organizing time with ADHD is available right now.
It is today, this very, very day. So we appreciate your patience as we've been teasing it over the last several episodes. We are very excited to say it is open to the public. There's a direct link in the show notes. We're going to take a few minutes today to talk about just that. What is this course? What does it represent? What can it help you do? How can it help you change in your life? We are going to dig into that in just a moment. And we've got 10 hacks that you can do right now to help you get a handle on your time. So we're going to do all of that in just a moment. Before we do that, head over to TakeControlADHD.com. Get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list, and we will send you an email whenever the latest episode is released. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at TakeControlADHD and call us. Leave us a voicemail at 503-664-4ADD, and you'll get your voice on this show. We really love hearing from you, and we've got we're going to be doing a little bit of Q&A action coming up here.
Yes.
In the next couple of weeks. Have we talked to people about that yet?
No, we haven't. So yeah, bring that up.
Well, consider it brought in.
Yeah, bring that up. Keep talking about it.
Yes, we're going to do another Nikki and Pete Q&A episode. We've got questions that have been stacking up, some technology, some not, and so we are going to use the opportunity in a couple of weeks to answer some of those questions. So give us a call or drop us an email or a tweet or post a message on Facebook. Any way you want to get in touch with us to get your question on this show, now is the time. I think you've got 2 weeks?
Right, yes.
As we do this, we've got exactly 2 weeks as we do this. So that means today, as we record this, it's the 12th. It's Friday the 12th, which means you have until Friday the 26th, whenever you're listening to this. And that will be recording our 300th episode of this show. Wow.
That's crazy.
Whew.
That's a lot of episodes.
It's a lot of episodes. Don't forget, everybody, 5-star reviews in iTunes and recommendations in your favorite podcast player. They really help others discover the show when they need help. So pay it forward. Drop us a kind review. We surely appreciate it. And this week, thanks to M. Kaiko and Brooke and Lulu Mommy Dearest for some very kind words over on our iTunes page. Thank you so much for taking up the charge and helping others to discover the ADHD podcast. We sure appreciate it. Okay, Nikki. Your turn. Let's talk about time.
Oh, how exciting. I'm so excited for this show because it's finally the time to talk about time.
It is. Oh my gosh, you've been working on this for a long time.
Yes, time. Well, there's a lot of details about this program, how it works, what to expect, everything that entails. And I encourage people to go to my website, go under courses. You're going to find organizing time with ADHD, and you're going to find all of that detailed information, right? And you're going to also have a link in the show notes on how to get there directly too.
Absolutely.
What I really wanted to do today is share with our listeners the intention of the program and who the program is for. And, I've been thinking about doing this for a long, long time, because,
it was like since before the last course you did on paper, you've been talking about time.
Well, I actually originally started this course before I even, put out the organizing course. So it's been a long time that I've wanted to do this. Yeah. But I felt like I needed to do the organizing and the paper stuff first because I'd already had that format there kind of started. So I did those and love them. And they're great for organizing your space and organizing paper.
Which one of your children do you love the most?
Yeah. Oh boy. You cannot ask that question.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yeah, really. Thanks a lot. You just kind of like, my excitement. No. Okay. Going back to my intention, folks.
Yes.
You know this, Pete. Living with ADHD, most likely you have a complicated relationship with time.
Yes, I do know this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So this is not something that, just a minority of people deal with. It's the majority of people who have ADHD have a really difficult time with managing it and figuring it out. And unfortunately, what I've seen over time is, I'm going to use time probably 100 times.
I know. Please don't turn this episode into a drinking game.
So sorry. You know, what is another word for time? I don't, gosh.
No, you don't. There's nothing. Yeah. You don't get it.
I know. Well, okay. So what I'm going to say is that most people blame themselves. And what happens is they think it's their fault. And so if they're running late, it's their fault. If they can't stick with a planner, it's their fault. A lot of emotions of shame and embarrassment and really harsh judgment, right, is what I see with the tie-in between time management and ADHD. At some point, my clients, a lot of them will come to me and just say, okay, I need to do something different. Enough is enough. I'm exhausted from trying everything under the sun and I can't figure it out, but they don't want to give up, right? Because you can't give up.
Right.
And that's one of the best characteristics that I see in all of my clients, and you, Pete, everybody that I see with ADHD, is that perseverance. Because even though they feel bad, they don't want to stop trying because there's got to be something out there that's going to help them. And there is a ton of information out on the internet, in the bookstore about time management. I mean, there is not a lack of information by any means. There's books, there's blogs, there's websites. We've talked about it on our podcast over and over again. Great, great information, but it's in pieces. And I think that that's the challenge, is that trying to figure out how to put all of these pieces together and how to make it work for me specifically. And not everything you read is written for ADHD. So then you end up feeling worse about yourself because it's not working for you.
Right.
And again, you're putting the blame on yourself when maybe that just wasn't a very ADHD friendly system to follow. My intention with this course is to give people an opportunity to learn about time management, give them a system that takes into account their ADHD, but is still flexible. And it also takes in account the emotional piece of time management. So I talk about limiting beliefs, and I talk about, these roadblocks, this internal dialogue that may be keeping you stuck. And the course, which all of my courses provide, is the opportunity to be a part of a community that's going through the same thing. And so I'm not saying that this is the only way that you should be doing this, or I'm not saying or even promising that this is the right way. It is not a perfect system, in the sense that you're going to tweak it to make it work for you. I don't cover any specific program or task manager, system or anything like that. I cover a process that you can work with really on any kind of system. So what I hope for people to get out of this is hope that, first of all, there is something you can work with that's going to get you closer to having a less complicated relationship with time. As I learn new techniques and strategies around time, I'm going to continue to update this program. So it's really meant to be a resource for people to come back to time and time again. And one of the common complaints or concerns, I shouldn't say it's a complaint, it's a concern, is people feel like, well, I read something out of a book, or I hear something and I think I want to try it, but then I forget about it. And the nice thing about this is a resource that's yours, that you get to keep. So if you are finding that whatever you have put into place, a routine or something like that, and it's not working exactly the way that you want it to work, you can come back to this course and look at the comments, and you can, ask me a question. And so it's just a really good resource to go back to. So you don't have to find that little sticky note that had that great idea that Pete talked about, because you have lots of great ideas.
Well, I love it. And I love that there are a couple of things about it and your approach to it and why it feels actually approachable and not like other time systems. First of all, you know me. I have tried a lot of systems for managing time, but very, very few are out there in the world that actually come from someone that has such a robust experience in working with people that live with ADHD. They're not ADHD-friendly time systems, like ways to think about time, because it's not just, you always need to have field notes with you every time, and you have to have a paper calendar, and you better have a time timer hanging on a chain around your neck at all times. Like, that's not what we're talking about, right? This is a way you can engage time, understand your relationship with time. And I come away from looking at the material in this course really rethinking my own relationship with time, that time is very deeply personal. It exists differently for me than it does for you, and I have to treat it that way. And so this is such a flexible examination of time that really comes from that ADHD perspective. I find it really special. Like it is so easy when we're talking about time and ADHD to think in terms of just binary, like it either works or it doesn't. It either succeeds or it fails. You are either doing it right or you're doing it wrong. And you're either a good person or a worse person for that experience. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely counter to what you're doing in this course. I really like it.
Well, and I talk a lot throughout the course about that all or nothing thinking, right? That you're just talking about it either works or it doesn't work, because that's what gets people so stuck. And again, I have to say, I talk a lot about the emotional part of it too, because there's a level of acceptance that has to happen, that you don't have to do it a certain way, and then it doesn't mean that you failed.
Exactly.
And so I think it's trying to get people to separate themselves from their to-do list and their calendar. And like, that's not who you are as a person. You can have a system in place, and maybe there's 2 or 3 days that it's not consistent, but that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You just go back to the next day and continue, right? So there is a ton of flexibility here. And what I was going to say is I really deeply believe this. You can kind of go the hard way, right? And try to piece it all together, which again, there's some great information out there. You can work with coaches. I mean, this is what we do. We work with you individually to get the right system for you. But there's also a way that if you need to be able to kind of self-pace yourself and be able to get that information and really process it in your own way, please, consider this new course, because I just absolutely believe in it. And my intention is to help as many people as I can. And, I was telling a client the other day, he was asking me how I was doing because, I'm trying to meet this deadline and I'm working. And I said, I have to remind myself what my true intention is. And once I remember that, the stress doesn't matter anymore. And, I get teary even thinking about it, because I just really believe in this, and I hope it helps people, because I see a lot of people who are just so frustrated and lost. And, I hope this gives them a little bit of a map, to get closer to where they want to be.
The course is available. It is up on the website right now as you listen to this. So head over there and check it out. And let us know what you think. Sign up, give it a shot, work the program, and see if it doesn't change the way you think about time. Okay, let's dig into the main topic today, shall we? This is a little piece. This is kind of a little piece of thinking about time. Yes. And these are the time hacks you can apply right now today to help change the way you work with your own time. Where would you like to start?
Well, I love quick wins.
Yeah.
Right? Who doesn't love that? I mean, who doesn't want to have a successful tip work that day that they hear it, right? So this is something to celebrate. So yes, I have 10 little hacks that you can do right now that doesn't involve, a bunch of research and data and reading. So just
perfect.
Couple of things to hang on to.
Listen up and rapid fire. Here we go.
That's right. So, hey, Pete. Do you have a task?
Hey, Nikki.
Do you have a task that you're avoiding right now?
Well, right now I'm podcasting with you, so I feel like I am absolved of all things I'm avoiding.
All right, but say that you do, which I bet you do. I bet you have something. I know,
I do.
Right? Make a promise to yourself right now that you're going to work on it for at least 5 minutes today.
I can do that.
Awesome. Everybody else that's listening, if you have a task that you're avoiding right now, work on it for just 5 minutes. That's it.
5 minutes.
Yes.
I can commit to 5 minutes.
We can all commit to 5 minutes. We're looking for the smallest entry point. Maybe it's just putting papers in a pile or writing a list, whatever it is, just start. So that's the first one.
Okay.
Easy
5
peasy.
minutes. Number 1. Yeah. Knock them out of the park. Number 2.
Okay. So you're listening to this podcast right now, enjoying it. Maybe, I don't know, I don't know where people listen to podcasts. I always listen to podcasts when I'm cleaning the house. But when you are transitioning to a new task, what I want you to do today is get up and do like 10 push-ups, 10 squats, walk around the building, get a little exercise. This is particularly helpful if you're working.
I'm doing my squats right now.
Are you? Awesome.
Yeah. As we speak. Yeah.
A lot of people have a difficult time with transitions. And so one of the ways to focus more into the next thing that you're going to be transitioning into is to get a little exercise into you. So that's tip number 2. So when you're going into the next task that you're doing, do a little bit of exercise.
Makes
Easy
a
peasy.
huge difference. Knocks it out of the park. I just did 10 while Nikki was talking.
And you're ready to go, right?
I'm ready to go. I got to tell you, I'm not doing enough squats because I broke a little sweat.
That's
a little sweat on
on your 10 squats.
on my 10 squats. Number 3.
Moving on. All right. If you have a report or something that you have to read that's kind of boring, maybe it's an email, whatever it is, do it standing up and pace around your office or wherever you're at. So I just have a little story, a little case study here for you. I work with a lot of students with ADHD. Finals they just ended finals last week. And I told one of my students, I said, hey, here's this great tip. When you're reading your textbook, I want you to just walk around, pace in circles, do whatever you need to do. It's kind of called active studying, right? She came back and she's like, oh my gosh, I thought you were crazy when you told me this, but I did it. I walked in circles in my computer lab, reading this book and highlighting what I needed to highlight. And she said, I cannot believe how much I got done, like how much I retained the information. So
that is amazing. I forget that. I do. And I think I have the luxury, as you know, I work at a stand-up desk. Like there's no excuse not to walk around in circles.
That's right. Just walk around circles in your desk area. Yep.
That's it.
All right. Tip number 4. Make a self-care choice today. So today, as you're listening to this, go to sleep at a decent time. Set an alarm. And I mean, this is also a very common challenge for many people. They want to go to bed by midnight, but they don't go to bed till 2. So set an alarm to remind you that at 11 o'clock, start getting ready for bed because you're going to bed on time tonight. Can I just add one thing on that? Once you make that transition to, hey, I'm going to, instead of going to bed at midnight, I'm going to go to bed at 10. It doesn't take very long for you to get exhausted at 10 o'clock. Right.
Like you will shift and you will eventually feel like, wow, 10 o'clock is super late. And that used to be 2 o'clock. It'll happen. It can happen.
Well, and it's interesting because I just had somebody tell me too that she was fighting to go to sleep. So she would get tired at like around 8:30, 8:45, but she would fight it. She would try not to go to bed at that time. But then she wasn't sleeping very well. And so one of the suggestions that I gave her was, what would happen if you just went to bed when you were tired? Like just try it. And so she did. She tried it and she actually had better sleep that day. So, or that night.
Course.
So, something to think about. But if, aside from sleep, the other things that you can do with self-care today is to eat a healthy meal, maybe get a little bit of exercise in. So instead of chips, you're choosing grapes, if you're not walking around, walk around. All of that stuff, it matters. If you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your ADHD. So make a choice to do something today that's going to make a difference.
Okay. Number 5.
If you have a task that you really need to focus on, maybe it's that 5-minute task that we were just talking about that you've been avoiding. I want you to turn off your notifications and hide your phone. And you're probably thinking, well, oh my gosh, this tip is said over and over and over again. But I want people to really ask themselves how often they really do it.
Yeah, you hear the tip all the time, but why do you think you hear it all the time? Because nobody ever does it.
No one does it. And so then they're wondering, well, why did I get so distracted? Well, what happened? Well, I had my phone. My phone was distracting me. So this is what I'm saying is for today, really do it.
Yeah.
Like really turn the notifications off and put your phone away and see what happens. If you haven't tried the Pomodoro technique, try it today.
What is the Pomodoro technique? Can we, for those who haven't heard us?
Yes, and please put a link in the show notes on this one too.
Yes.
It's a technique that was, I believe, founded. I don't remember who the person was. You probably do, but it was back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, it's an Italian time management concept. That came around. It was a guy named what's his name? Cirillo, I think. Francesco Cirillo.
That's right.
In the 80s. And right. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so basically what happens is you work for 25 minutes and then you give yourself a 5-minute break, and you do this 4 different times. And then after the 4th time, you give yourself a longer break. Now, what I would encourage people to do is play around with the time. I know that they say 25 minutes, but I really think any minute is worth it. So again, if we're going to 5 minutes, then, work on something for 5 minutes and then take a couple minute break and then go back and work, but continuously do it. I have found more clients find a huge amount of success with this technique than clients that don't. So yes. I definitely think it's worth trying and, just playing with the time and see how it works. And that's something you can do today.
Yes. And you know what? I'll say this is one of those systems that it's a scaffolding for your life, right? When you feel like you're just not getting enough done, turn on a little timer and work in these little shorter sprints, and it will change the way you accomplish projects.
Absolutely. Okay. Most people's to-do list, they're too big. This tip is not necessarily to do today, but it's for you to do tomorrow. What I want you to do is look at your to-do list, and I only want you to choose 3 things that have to get done. And I want you to put it on a separate piece of paper, and I want you to make them very specific. So it can't be broad, like I'm going to organize my office today. Like it can't be that. That's not going to do you any good at all. But maybe it is, I'm going to file this specific stack of papers. That's, to do 1. Or I'm going to do 1 load of laundry. And that's like maybe the second thing that you're going to do. You can always go back and add things. But the point of this exercise is to get away from the overwhelm of these, huge to-do lists. So I want you to try it and see what happens.
This is something that I find a lot of people do. They have these big digital databases of all the work they have to do. And at the beginning of every day during their daily planning or at the end of the day before, they actually get out a piece of paper and just handwrite 3 to 5 things from their big digital list onto this piece of paper. And that's their daily activity so that they can intentionally hide from themselves the massive work. Like you're saying, it makes a big difference. It's a good best practice.
Well, and I got to tell you, I did that every single day working on this new online course. I had to, because there's so many details involved and there's so many pieces that have to connect, and I'm working with a team of people, and so I've got to make sure that those pieces connect with them too. And it's exactly what I had to do because it was too overwhelming. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I just got stuck, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick what is the most important thing right now and put that in front of me. I mean, it really is helpful. Okay, number 8, I want people to focus on the got done list.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. And this actually got brought up with one of my coaching groups. And I loved this person in my coaching group is just so positive. And he brought this up, and I can't agree with him more. We always focus on what's left to do, but we never focus on what we get done. And so my challenge for people is to, at the end of today, is to write a couple of things, 3 or 4 or 5, how many things? I mean, hopefully you have a whole list of things that you got done. And I'm not talking about big projects that got completed. Like, I'm just talking about the 3 things that you just chose. Like, what did you get done? And focus on the good.
Huge.
That's how we build our success, is seeing our success. And so many times we just overlook it.
Absolutely. And number 9.
if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're a little stressed out, and I got to tell you, that's been me for the last few weeks. One of the things that I did that definitely was really helpful, especially when Oregon had nice weather, I walked outside, I took a couple of deep breaths, I sat in the sun, like I literally sat in the sun, like it was blaring on me, and, just closed my eyes and recentered myself. And I just have to, I have anxiety. No, that's not a big surprise. I've talked about it before on the show, but this is what got me to just go back into the present moment.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah. And it was so helpful. And, I told my son about it because, my family has been very supportive during this time. And I was like, I got outside and I took some moments just for myself. And I mean, even he was like, good job, Mom.
Well, and this gets right back to the Pomodoro technique, right? Because if you're working in these little sprints and at the end of the sprint, you're supposed to take a short break, like a 4-minute break, 3 to 5 minute break, somewhere in there. That is not intended to get involved in something else. That's intended to do exactly what you did. Go outside, get some sun, take some deep breaths of good outside air, and before you get back to work, use that as a recharge. It's the recharge time. I really love that. It falls right into self-care too.
Yes, absolutely. And so does this. Number 10, my last tip. Mm-hmm. Is and this is interesting because I on my notes I say catch yourself with your inner dialogue, and it reminds me of a conversation that you and I had a few weeks ago when you said to me and said to our audience that you don't usually catch yourself until you're already in that inner dialogue.
Yep.
Right? Like there isn't a lot of ways to kind of prevent it. It's like you're in it and now you got to figure out how to get out of it. And I think that's, and people might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with time management? Well, it has a lot to do with time management, believe me. And so what I would want people to do is when you do realize that you're in it, ask yourself the question, would you talk to your spouse like this? Would you talk to your best friend the way that you're talking to yourself? My guess is the answer is going to be no. And so I'm just asking to please be kind to yourself.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Be kind to yours. That's like the best Hallmark card ever.
There you go.
Go out and buy yourself a card too. Number 11. Go buy a card and mail it to yourself.
Yes.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, you think I'm crazy. I'm going to come to your house and mail you a card from your house so that it has the right stamp. And I'm not even going to tell you I'd do it.
Oh,
just
you're
prove
funny,
a point.
Pete.
There you go. For these are great tips. There is it's just so much in this time course. There's so much. It's like 6 hours, over 6 hours of
but not all at
very
once.
very thoughtfully divided video and audio content, and it's going to help change the way you relate to time. Give it a shot. For more information about organizing time with ADHD, head over to takecontroladhd.com. Again, there's a direct link right in the show notes. Just swipe up there in your podcast app of choice, and you can jump over to it. Thank you so much, Nikki Kinzer. Congratulations.
Thank you, Pete. You were a big part of this. Part. He had
let's just say my fingerprints are on it somewhere.
Let's just say I challenged your ADHD, didn't I?
You sure did.
All of those 6 hours of video got broken down into 5 or 10 minutes of video that you had to edit, and you had to place music to in front and behind. And Pete Wright is amazing.
That's very sweet. Well, on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, thank you so much, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. I'm Pete Wright, and we sure appreciate your time and your attention. And we will catch you next week right here on Take Control, the ADHD podcast.